One exchange, Lively apologizes for being so caught up in the lawsuit and said she felt a shift in their friendship. And Swift responds that their chats have felt like a mass corporate email sent to 200 employees and that I miss my dark, funny, normal speaking friend.
Question that this relationship is now fractured. And remember, Taylor is the godmother to one of Blake and Ryan's kids.
All right.
So this relationship, the two of them were best friends. I mean, we saw them going out to dinner all the time. They were joined at the hip.
Taylor Swift is now at the center of a controversy she spent years making sure would never reach her. And this time, it is not fan drama or tabloid gossip driving the conversation. It is leaked messages, insider claims, and a timeline that does not add up no matter how many ways you try to explain it away. And once you actually sit down and examine what has surfaced, this stops looking like a celebrity supporting a friend and starts looking like something far more calculated. So if you want the full breakdown, let's get straight into it.
This morning, music superstar Taylor Swift caught in the crossfire of the contentious legal battle between Blake Lively and her co-star and It Ends With Us director, Justin Baldoni. The judge overseeing the case that's set to begin in May, unsealing hundreds of pages of documents ahead of a hearing this week, including texts between Swift and Lively.
The entire situation traces back to a film that should have come and gone without anyone remembering it 6 months later. But what happened between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni turned into one of the most drawn-out, most analyzed disputes in recent Hollywood memory. At the time, people dismissed it. Creative differences, personality clashes, the kind of friction that happens on every set and usually gets resolved before the press tour. But that is not what happened here, because almost overnight, the narrative around this project shifted in a direction that felt less like organic public reaction and more like a coordinated effort to position one person as the villain and the other as the victim. Headlines began landing with a consistency that made people uncomfortable. The framing was too uniform, the timing was too precise, and the sources feeding those stories were too well connected to be random. Something was being shaped, and the public was consuming it without questioning where it was actually coming from.
Notes are the first few notes of My Tears Ricochet, obviously Taylor Swift. How did Taylor get on board for this?
I heard that, like, Brandon, that's like your best friend, right?
Yeah.
Can you introduce us one day? I would.
I don't know, she's
Get a
not
lot of
like,
pull.
she wasn't really a gossip girl. Well, yeah, I talked to her and she was like, well, of course I'll do that. She's like, pick anything you want.
Yeah.
And that is where Taylor Swift enters this story. Not as a peripheral figure, not as a casual observer who happened to know one of the people involved, but as someone whose direct involvement is now being documented through messages that her own team insisted did not exist. For months, Swift's representatives maintained the same position. She had no role in this situation. Her connection to the film was limited to a song on the soundtrack. No creative input, no behind-the-scenes influence, no strategic involvement of any kind. That was the official line, and it held. Until leaked messages made it impossible to maintain. Because what those messages show is not a friend checking in after a rough day on set. They show detailed conversations about trailers, reactions to specific edits, commentary that reflects not casual interest, but active engagement with the direction of the project and the narrative surrounding it. And the problem with that is simple. You cannot claim zero involvement when the evidence shows a level of participation that goes well beyond what a disinterested bystander would ever have.
Taylor Swift has gone from bystander to strategist in this Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni thing, because private text messages have come out showing that Taylor was kind of advising.
Now here is where the situation shifts from uncomfortable to genuinely troubling. Because according to multiple sources close to this dispute, Blake Lively was not simply unhappy with certain creative decisions. She allegedly wanted full control of the project, not collaborative input, not a stronger voice at the table, complete authority over creative direction, narrative framing, and the public-facing identity of the film. And Justin Baldoni, who held structural and directorial control over the project, was the obstacle standing between that ambition and its realization. So what followed, according to these claims, was not a disagreement that escalated. It was a deliberate effort to undermine Baldoni's position, first privately through internal pressure, and then publicly through media narratives that painted him in the worst possible light before he ever had a chance to respond. And Taylor Swift, according to the evidence now circulating, was not watching this from a distance. She was part of the inner circle where these conversations were happening. Part of the group that was aligned on strategy, part of the apparatus that critics say was designed to reshape public perception around a version of events that may not reflect what actually happened.
To the filing, it seems that Swift sent Lively a screenshot of a news article about Baldoni with this message, quote, "I think this B knows something is coming because he's gotten out his tiny violin." Now Lively allegedly responds,
Now, to be fair, none of this has been proven in a courtroom. These are allegations. They are claims supported by leaked communications and insider accounts that are still being contested, and anyone making definitive conclusions before a legal process plays out is getting ahead of the evidence. But here is what cannot be dismissed: the timeline. Because when you actually map out when these conversations took place, a pattern emerges that is very difficult to explain away as coincidence. Some of these messages appear to predate the public conflict. They appear to predate the lawsuits. They appear to predate any official accusation that would justify the kind of strategic alignment being described. And that raises a question that no amount of PR spin can answer cleanly. If this was simply a group of friends reacting to events as they unfolded, then why does the evidence suggest that key elements of this effort were already in motion before there was anything to react to? That is not support. That is preparation. And the distinction between those two things is what makes this situation so much more serious than a standard celebrity controversy.
Collaborating with Blake.
Oh, she's a creative force. She's a genius. She was involved in every aspect of this production, and everything she touched, she made better.
I mean, a sequel? Colleen says the ball is in your court. You have the...
And the deeper you look, the worse the optics become. One source close to the situation describes growing frustration within Lively's circle over Baldoni's structural control of the project. Not just creative disagreements, but resentment over who held the rights, who controlled the long-term direction, and who ultimately had the authority to make final decisions. And when that frustration could not be resolved through normal channels, the approach changed. Private dissatisfaction became organized conversations. Those conversations became a shared framework for how to handle the situation. And that framework, according to critics, started operating less like friends talking through a problem and more like a campaign with a specific objective and a clear target. Another source claims that the effort to reshape how the public viewed Baldoni did not happen in a single dramatic move. It was incremental, strategic, a slow restructuring of the narrative through carefully placed information, well-timed leaks, and media relationships that ensured the story would be told from one perspective and one perspective only. That is not how organic public opinion forms. That is how it gets manufactured. And the fact that this machinery appears to have been running before the dispute even became public knowledge is what separates this from every other Hollywood feud people have already forgotten about.
Like Lively's ready to direct, that's what I think.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
Justin said he doesn't know if he'd be game to direct the next one, but perhaps Blake would. Is that something that you would entertain?
Oh, absolutely. I think that whoever decides to take charge of the next one would do it justice. But, you know, it's a lot of people to get the same schedules together again, so we'll see.
Oh, absolutely. She's so capable of that. She is a powerhouse. She could do literally anything.
And this is the part of the story that makes Taylor Swift's involvement so much more significant than people initially realized. Because if the claims being made are even partially accurate, then one of the most powerful and influential figures in global entertainment was not simply offering emotional support to a friend going through a difficult professional situation. She was embedded in a process that may have been specifically designed to destroy another person's career and reputation through a narrative that might not hold up under scrutiny. And that is a fundamentally different thing than what her team has been selling. The defense being offered by Swift's supporters follows a predictable pattern. She was just being a good friend. She only heard one side of the story. Anyone in her position would have responded the same way. And on the surface, that sounds reasonable, except it falls apart the moment you examine the nature and timing of the communications that have leaked. Because there is a clear and meaningful difference between believing what your friend tells you and actively participating in a coordinated effort to control how the public perceives a situation. One is a natural human response. The other requires intent, awareness, and a willingness to use influence in a way that has real consequences for real people. And the evidence that has surfaced so far does not support the passive bystander narrative. It supports something that looks a lot more like active involvement in a strategy that was designed to produce a specific public outcome.
Ever since the release last summer of her box office hit, It Ends With Us, Blake Lively has been dominating the gossip columns as a reported rift with her co-star Justin Baldoni became increasingly public. Rumours and allegations followed, from sexual harassment and smear campaigns to bullying and creative sabotage. But rival lawsuits filed by the pair in recent weeks have fanned the flame.
And the fallout is now starting to catch up. Reports indicate that both Taylor Swift and Blake Lively are experiencing a gradual but noticeable shift in public sentiment. Not a dramatic collapse, not an overnight cancellation, but a steady erosion of goodwill that accelerates every time a new piece of information enters the conversation. One insider describes genuine concern within their teams about what might still be out there, because the nature of leaked communications is that you never know how much has been preserved, who preserved it, or when it might surface. And that uncertainty is what keeps this story from settling into the background. Every time the conversation appears to be losing momentum, something new drops. A previously unseen message, a new source willing to talk, a detail that recontextualizes something the public had already accepted as settled. And with each new revelation, the gap between the official narrative and what the evidence actually shows gets wider.
They could do. For the bargain price of $175,000 US, they set out what they could achieve in a series of shocking leaked text messages between them.
He wants to feel like she can be buried.
You know we can bury anyone.
So here is where this situation stands as of right now. This is no longer a dispute between two people on a film set. It is no longer even a debate about creative control or professional boundaries. It has become a case study in how concentrated influence, media access, and strategic narrative construction can be used to shape what millions of people believe about a situation they have no direct knowledge of. Taylor Swift built her entire public identity on authenticity, on being the person who tells the truth even when it is inconvenient, on being the fighter who plays fair. But if the picture being painted by these allegations holds up, then the gap between that image and the reality behind it is not just a crack. It is a chasm, and it is one that no amount of carefully worded statements or strategic silence is going to close. So I want to leave you with 3 questions, and I want you to think about them seriously before you answer. If Taylor Swift's involvement runs as deep as these messages suggest, does her silence protect her, or does it prove exactly what critics are saying? If these exact same messages were found on Justin Baldoni's phone instead, would anyone still be calling it just supporting a friend, or would his career already be finished? How many times does someone get to hide behind loyalty before people finally recognize it as participation with plausible deniability? Drop your answers below, because this conversation is just getting started. This story is nowhere near finished, and honestly, it is only getting uglier from here. If you want to stay ahead of every new revelation before the mainstream media spins it, subscribe and hit that bell immediately.